The first part of this video will show you how to identify Botrytis blight on roses, so if you've already identified this disease, skip to the second half of the video, or hit the timestamp for step 1 in the video description below. So, first, on with the identification. Botrytis cinerea is a common fungus which causes rot and decay of many different plants, including roses. When Botrytis cinerea occurs on rotting plant material, it is often known by the common name Grey Mould. This is often the mould you can find on rotting fruit and vegetables. For example, here's some grey mould on rotting blackberries. When Botrytis cinerea occurs on rose plants, it's known as Botrytis bud and twig blight. The ugly rotting rose flowers are not a pretty sight. It's important to note that Botrytis blight on roses usually occurs when there's been lots of rain and wet weather. Botrytis blight is not really seen in hot, dry summers. The Botrytis fungus usually enters the rose plant via old wounds, such as pruning cuts or insect damage, or through decaying plant tissue, like old spent flowers. This is why plant scientists like myself often view the Botrytis fungus as an opportunistic fungal pathogen of roses. When Botrytis blight occurs on old roses, you may see that the developing rose hip and any remaining petals turn black, brown or grey. The rot and discoloration on the rose may progress back into the stem, and from there it may infect other rose buds which are not yet flowered. Not what I want to see. These infected rose stems may turn brown or bend, or even collapse altogether. So we've talked about what happens when Botrytis blight is opportunistic and enters the plant via dead or damaged parts of the plant. But can Botrytis blight directly infect healthy rose buds and stems without dead or damaged parts? Unfortunately, yes. Botrytis cinerea isn't always opportunistic. It can also directly infect healthy rose buds and stems. When the Botrytis infection occurs on healthy rose buds, you can see that the flowers are unable to open. As the flowers can't open, this means, sadly, that what would have been a beautiful blooming rose will now literally rot on the plant. A sad, lingering reminder of the impact of the Botrytis blight. When we look closer at some of these dead rose flowers, we can see that they are covered in grey-brown fungal threads caused by Botrytis blight. Growing out of these fungal threads are thousands of clusters of tiny dust-like grey-white spores. Aided by the wet weather, these Botrytis spores can spread via many means: the wind, animals, or on gardeners' gloves or tools. Wet, rainy and humid conditions allow the fungus to produce high numbers of spores, and the infection quickly multiplies. The optimum temperature for the growth of this Botrytis fungus is 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, or 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, along with high humidity. This equates perfectly to a cool, wet British summer. What does it look like when Botrytis blight infects a rose flower which is already in bloom? Where the rose flower has managed to bloom, we can see the Botrytis fungus is infecting its petals. These striking white and brown and dark pink flecks on the petals are all points where the fungus has infected the plant. You can also see soft brown edges on the petals, where the Botrytis fungus is taking hold. This process takes just days. Let's step back and take a look at the whole plant. You can see the full extent of the sad state of affairs. Don't underestimate the devastating impact of Botrytis blight on roses. What would have been a beautiful bed of roses covered in vibrant flowers is now a rotting, brown, grey, soggy mess. So, why is there so much Botrytis blight on these roses? In a typical British understatement, this year has had a very cool and very wet summer. This has multiplied the spores for Botrytis cinerea. Bad news for these roses. These roses were not deadheaded or cut back after flowering, which allowed the fungus to gain a foothold. Can Botrytis blight be cured? Is there a treatment for Botrytis bud and twig blight of roses? In short, yes. Here are my top 5 practical steps you can take to stop Botrytis blight killing your rose flowers. Step 1. Deadhead your roses. While we can't stop wet weather, we can keep on top of deadheading, which is cutting off those spent flowers. This method will prevent Botrytis blight from taking hold. You only have to keep on top of deadheading your roses if it's been wet. If it's a hot, dry summer, with not so much rain, you can be more relaxed. But in wet weather, those dead flowers are prime entry points for the Botrytis blight. Remember, as soon as one flower is infected and starts to produce fungal spores, the infection will spread rapidly to other buds and healthy flowers. Step 2. Improve the airflow around your roses. If your rose plant is touching other plants, consider cutting those other plants back slightly to increase airflow through the flower bed. When you prune your roses, try to think about creating an open structure with space for air movement. This will allow the plant to dry quickly after the rain. To help you do this, imagine each of your rose flowers needing their own space in the sun. Don't crowd them. Step 3. Examine your roses regularly and remove infected parts. Now you've deadheaded your rose plants and improved the airflow around them. This third step of control is to examine your rose plants regularly to spot infected buds and flowers. Buds or flowers infected with Botrytis Blight should be cut off as soon as possible and collected in a bag. I don't recommend trying to compost these infected cuttings in your garden compost heap, as temperatures rarely get high enough to completely kill the fungus. Instead, put these infected clippings in your council-provided garden waste bin, or take the clippings to the green waste drop-off area of your local tip. Step 4. Practice good garden hygiene. When you're pruning your roses, always think about good hygiene. Clean your secateurs after use. Clean your gloves if they've touched the flowers with the Botrytis Blight by brushing off the dirt and using a gentle soap. Make sure to read up online how to correctly prune your roses. You want to create clean cuts without leaving stubs, which are prone to dieback and disease. Step 5. This is a bonus, extra step. Boost the vigour of your roses. Just like with humans, robust healthy rose plants catch fewer diseases. So, apply a layer of organic mulch, such as well-rotted manure, under the rose plant in the winter months. Adding organic mulch will trap moisture in the soil, and as the mulch breaks down, it also releases nutrients, aiding the growth of the rose plant. Then, in the spring, apply a slow-release plant food to the base of your roses to help them grow with vigour. If you follow these steps, you should be able to stop Botrytis bud and twig blight from destroying your roses, so you can enjoy healthy, lovely blooms. I hope you found this video helpful. Wishing you healthy plants and happy gardening.